When you're finished with your model, you will come to a point where you want to color it or apply a picture to it. What we call in the 3D world a texture map. The easiest way to do this is to make your model flat, which is called UVs in 3D. So what do I mean by it? So let's say I have a picture that I want to put on this. Until now, you have just assigned materials to your object, which is just a plain color. But let's say I want to put a picture on it. So I'm going to assign a material, and on the color, you will see here's the color you can pick for the material. But right by next to it, there's a checker box where I can add something else other than the color, either a procedural map or a file. In this case, I want to put a file on it. This window will change to let me go find that file. I have a picture here of a t-shirt that I want to put on my model. But the problem is this is a 3D object and this is a 2D picture. So I'm going to apply it so you can see what happens here. And if you can't see textures, you can hit 6 on your keyboard or click on this little icon on the top. And you will see how the texture is applied. So it's obviously not working. There's a problem here. And the problem is that this is a 3D object. Let me just go back to the regular gray material here. And well, let's leave it there for a second. This is a 3D object, and the picture I put on my object is a 2D picture. So what we need to do is make our 3D object flat so we can put that 2D picture on it. UVs is the way you accomplish this. And what is UVs? It's just basically a set of coordinates to apply that picture. So U is side to side and V is up and down. You're probably wondering why call it UV. That's because X and Y were already taken. It's similar to cutting a pattern of clothing. When you have a pattern of clothing and you want to make a shirt with it, you have a flat piece of fabric, and you have to decide how to make that piece of fabric a shape, a 3D shape, right? It's flat first, and you have to make it a 3D shape. So we have the opposite problem. We have a 3D object that we need to make a 2D shape so we can paint on it or apply a picture that we found somewhere or download it, or take it to a 2D software so we can paint our own picture. So we're going to talk about that now. When you cut UVs, it's kind of like if you were cutting a skin on top of your model. You're not actually cutting your model. You're just trying to decide how to make it flat. So it's similar to when they cut a bear and they make it a flat rug. I know that's kind of creepy, I'm sorry, but that's like the perfect analogy. You're trying to get your 3D model to lay flat or lay out the UVs. So you'll hear that a lot on the 3D world. So how does Maya sees this object flat right now? If you change your workspace right now, on the workspace on the top right, we are on modeling standard. We want to be on UV editing. So if you change it to UV editing, you will see on the left side, you see your perspective view with your 3D object. And on the right side, you see your 3D object and your picture. And I'm going to turn off the picture here for a second. This is how Maya sees this object at first. All objects you create in Maya at first have laid out UVs. So we started with a cube. We just distorted it, made it smaller on the top, extruded the bottom. So Maya lost track of it as soon as we started making changes to it. Same with the head, started with a cylinder, but we extruded it a few times here, the neck and the top knob of the head. So Maya does not see those changes and is still showing us the first UVs it had. So we need to lay down these UVs again. And if I were to go on this side, I can right click and say UVs and double click on one of the vertex here, and the UVs are in the same position that your vertex on the 3D model, but just pretend it's like a skin that's sitting on top of your model. So if I turn on my picture again, and if I move my UVs here, you can see the picture moving around on my object. Usually what you want to do is cut the UV so it represents the object more closely to what you see in here. So if you think about this object, if it was made out of cardboard or paper, how would you cut it and lay it flat? So we started with a cube, and this would probably be a perfect representation of what a cube looks like if you were to cut it and lay it flat. What does this object look like if I were to cut it and lay it flat? So I'm going to show you how to do this, and we're going to use an example from a file on Canvas.